Alrighty, so this one's for you, dear Cancer. Here you are. That's you, Cancer. This is Star Lumination. This is your love and relationship report, mini report for April 2018. It's that little time period. And for you, Cancer, you've probably figured it out. It can be a little bit challenging. So I'm just going to give you a couple of calendar moments to uh, be aware of over this season. And you'll see in a moment. I've given some of the signs a few, you know, amber alerts here and there in case something really jumps out, but quite a few jumped out for you, Cancer. So I just want to make you aware of that. Just give us a moment. I want to keep shuffling until we're good. Cards are already pre-shuffled, but I like to go to the last second so that you're a witness. And then we're going to do it. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals, none of that. Sorry, the cards are beautiful as they are. We're going to use the Crucible spread, which allows for you, dear Cancer, a significant other, and a third entity called the relationship itself, in which both parties would conduct themselves in a healthy relationship on the understanding that the relationship itself has a structure and a life and identity and energy form of its own, and it is owned by you guys. And in a healthy relationship, it is built and it's invested, and it provides a safe place so that you can intimate and separate without blowing up every single time. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a moment. Get your notebooks out. Just want to mark a couple of things. March 31st. I know it's not April, but you know. So early on in April, you're coming straight out of this heavy-duty full moon, March 31st. So I know it looks kind of weird here that it's like a universal chart, but I'll make it for you, dear Cancer, because that would put you like over here. All right. So if you pretend this is you over here, Cancer, all right, we have this massive T square, like pivoting around your seventh house of Capricorn energy over here. So the sun will be up here in Aries, moon will be down here in Libra on the, the cardinal axes here. So it's going to be strong, and it happens to be in very tight alignment with Pluto, Saturn, and Mars in Capricorn. So it's a hard T square here. So even though this isn't directly sitting on your relationship axis, it is pivoting on your relationship axis right over here in your seventh house of most significant relationships, the marriages, the formal one-on-one contract type relationships, basically marriage, and how this is affecting you in your destiny in the world and your place at home. So there could be very interesting challenges that get exposed at that time, and then having to deal with the ripple effects coming out of this for the next few weeks till we get to April 15th, which is going to be the Aries new moon over here. So let's put you on the horizon again. Pretend this is you, okay? This is Cancer over here. It's going to be a big fat new moon, powerful Aries new moon up there in your 10th house of destiny in the world. So yeah, that's great to have, of course, but it's a hard angle. It's squared. And it's very supported by the Capricorn energy here. Well, sorry, it's heavily squared, but we just happen to have a nice, sweet trine support over here and here with Taurus and Scorpio. So it should balance out. But the thing is, your whole like career aspects could be really lit up right now, and that is probably going to be closely connected with your feeling of relationships and how it's affecting you in the home too. So the home and the career are almost polar opposite in terms of energies. So your relationships could be strained or exposed for what's really going on as opposed to what you thought was going on. And next we have, this is just a momentary thing. It's nothing official, but I noticed it and I really wanted to point it out because it does affect all the cardinal signs. And this is for April 21st. It's just a short few days here, but it's when the moon is in Cancer, sitting right on top of you. It's in hard opposition to all this big pile of Capricorn over here, which is simultaneously in a hard square with all this Aries. So it's almost like an action replay of the big T square, but you know, it's in the cardinal signs, but it's at a different angle now. So again, this could be a real hot spot for you. Those 3 dates, okay? March 31st, April 15th, April 21st. Please note in your calendar because your relationship may, I'm not going to say flare up, but there might be some amber alerts that come out at that time or where you might be aware of them. Okay. So, you know, it's just like watching the weather forecast. Just sort of factor these things in. You know, forewarned is forearmed, as they say. So you don't have to be a victim. You can actually take advantage of the weather. Okay. So let's have a look here. Sorry, I had to go on about that quite a lot for you guys, Cancer, because, you know, it's kind of important, all right? So cards are well shuffled. I'm going to cut it all up now, and you're a witness, okay? You know the routine. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising, in case this one is very confusing for you or doesn't make any sense at all. And then cross-watch for your significant others. Also, for singles, if you want, if you know, employ the laws of attraction, there you are radiating your love frequency in relationship, then this would be like the resonant reflection coming back to you, like what if, in other words, if someone's lurking or you've got your eyes on someone or you might be attracting someone, this might be the energy that they would resonate, okay? This is you, this is your love frequency, your relationship frequency resonating here, pulsing, okay? And this is the significant other, chosen one. This is deep in your soul, deep in their soul, and deep at the core is the relationship itself. So there is the crucible, and this is the structure in which both parties can intimate and separate, intimate and separate, intimate and separate, hopefully without blowing everything up. And this would be the momentum going as things flow. If you think of it as a constant flow, back and forth as you make your decisions. We're going to look at the weather itself in just a second here. You're going to make the best of it. So you, Cancer, have the Knight of Wands. So this to me is almost like a loud message of go for it. Make the best of this time, Cancer. Like the wind is in your sails, but my feeling is to please understand that it's a strong wind and it can be very invigorating. Because the squares and the oppositions that we talked about, they don't have to equal conflict. They can trigger a lot of growth and stimulation and activity that you might not normally get if you were smothered and surrounded by all sorts of trines and sextiles and everything was just lovey-dovey all the time. All right, so that's all I'm sensing here is, let's make the most of this time period right now, and it could be, let's say, quite noteworthy for the whole of April. Could be quite a calendar moment for you for the whole of 2018. Okay, just noting. Let's have a look. What's going on with you? Wheel of Fortune. So over here, it makes me feel like this is already a loud signal that's amplifying this signal here already. That it's really important to get yourself in alignment with the wave, so to speak, and ride these waves. Understand that the waves and the currents are there, but you don't have to be a victim. However, if you're not aware of these waves and currents and you're coming to Tarot Illumination, seeing if you can get some illumination on these things, because if everything feels like it's just a big fated merry-go-round for you, then that will be understandable too. You might feel as though, in other words, you might be subconsciously feeling the currents that I was talking about earlier, but not knowing what they are or what they mean. Because if you're not aware of them, it can feel like those currents own you, and then you're getting swept along by what you could call the fates, you know? And then your life feels like a roller coaster, like, oh, the full moon, oh, the new moon, oh, the full moon, oh, the new moon. And of course, for you, Cancer, that's kind of important because, you know, the moon is your ruling planet. So you can get swept along by the lunar cycles without even knowing it. It doesn't have to be that way, but it looks to me like it is that way for a lot of Cancerians. So don't freak out. Please understand that this is perfectly natural, and this is exactly as it should be because it can't be any other way. It's just the laws of physics. This is just how things are. The moon is what it is, and it does what it does. And if you want to fight it, sure, good luck. It's better to be friends with all these planets and see them as your friends rather than trying to fight them or deny them. So if you're feeling as though in your love life, your love relationship, that there are a lot of things that are happening that are sort of outside of your control, almost like some big fated thing where you just have to hold on. You're like being on a big merry-go-round and just hoping that it all holds itself together. Fine. Okay. Let's have a look. What about the other? Okay. Major arcana here. Well, they might be feeling something similar in that they're in kind of what we could call a very fated relationship. And I don't use that word much on this channel because fate can sometimes be used to describe our unconscious experience of what is happening in a perfectly natural, normal way. But when we're not conscious of it and things just seem to unfold in these magical or scary patterns that don't make any sense to us, and the only resource we have, the only recourse we have is to attribute it all to fate, then sure, that's perfectly reasonable way to deal with these things. And so you might, Cancer, be dealing with someone is a very significant other who feels the same way. But it doesn't have to be in a bad thing. Fate isn't a bad word. For example, if things are unfolding in kind of a magical, beautiful way, like that feeling of being at a festival or a merry-go-round, or in the cycles of life where things are just unfolding in a very natural, beautiful way, then that could make a lot of sense, because it looks like you, Cancer, might be resonating very, very strongly with someone else who is in that fated journey with you. In other words, it's kind of like that. You know, when you see dolphins going together like this, or flocks of swallows going like this, and everything swirls and it's all kind of like amazing. You wonder, how the heck do they do that? Well, it's all perfectly natural as far as they're concerned, but it looks beautiful from where we stand as an observer. So my feeling here with the star, is that you, Cancer, are relating with someone who is multifaceted, in some ways acting as a guiding light to you, uh, almost like a lighthouse, so to speak, where you are literally being guided by them, and they have some kind of connection with the great divine, which allows them to radiate this kind of frequency as a perfectly natural way of their being. In that, because I see a lot of this often as the energy of heaven guiding us and protecting us, uh, and giving us a sense of hope when things can be um, observed otherwise to be hopeless. And yet, here's this energy here. So, to me, this is very encouraging for you, Cancer, even though you might not have any full comprehension of what's actually going on here. In other words, how on earth would you describe such a relationship that is so infused with magic and spontaneity and divine guidance? Maybe it's one of those things that people wish for, and then when they have it, it's just like, oh my gosh, is this what it's like? I had no idea. I've studied everything. I've gone to every guru class on the planet. I've read every relationship self-help book. I've done counseling and therapy, and nobody told me about this stuff. Why didn't anybody tell me? Well, it kind of doesn't matter, because if it's happening, just be aware how incredibly fortunate you may be, Cancer, here, to have someone like this, for the both of you to have this. It's very beautiful. It's almost like they feel very, very lucky to have you, and you're very, very lucky to have them. Okay? So that's how I'm seeing it. We're seeing it right at this moment. Let's have a look deep down inside of you. Well, to me, this makes me feel as though the relationship itself is inspiring you to your, let's say, your most resonant limbic self possible that it is possible to be as a human being. And it brings out like the courage in you. Forget the gender here. The Queen of Wands is an amazing character who is very, very proud to be who she is. But it's not like she, splurges her royalty everywhere. She's perfectly capable of saying, "Oh, hello, my dear person living in my world. I've noticed that you're struggling with something. Have you ever thought of doing this or doing that? Or let me give you a hand for a minute. I'll take off my fancy robes. I'll put on my garden gloves, and and I've got a couple of jackhammers in the back trunk here. And if you need help with this or that, let's just take care of it, all right? Because I've been through this stuff before, okay? I know what it's like for you guys. So to me, it feels like you, Cancer, are being very deeply inspired by your significant other in ways that perhaps you don't really have any words, but you feel it and you know it in your guts. And it's almost like magic. That's how I'm looking at this. And that kind of inspires you to want to keep going, and it feeds in off of itself. In other words, like a positive feedback loop. The better it gets, the better it gets. So long as you have the courage and the guts to keep going with this and trust what you might call in fate, knowing that things are opening and unfolding for you in ways that, you know, that happens now and again. I mean, look, I'm just looking at these charts. I'm just going to this. These are extremely powerful alignments, and they're sitting right in your face, okay? Not directly on you, Cancer, but on the hard angles to you, like you would be here, and all of this is right out there in front of you. It's so powerful, it's so conflicted and so strong, but it's sitting right on top of you that you could call it fate. Yeah, I mean, you don't have any choice except to accept it as fate. And then with this one here, sitting there on top of your like destiny, fate, woo, okay? And then this one here, again, so how does this all pan out? You're going to know this in the middle of the month, towards the end of the month. I mean, I don't want to go all the way right to the end of the month because it's so far away right now. It's on April 29th. We've got the full moon Taurus, Sun, Scorpio, moon. It's very harmonious. It's a very nice, sweet one. So you might glide through that. By the end of April, you might be thinking, whoa, that was one heck of a roller coaster month. Wow. Okay, let's have a look deep inside of them. Well, to me, this feels like a mutual turn-on type of relationship dynamic here going through April, where they, in their natural sense of being almost like a divine guide and understanding and living out their current role in this current time frame, in this current relationship dynamic, they, in terms of getting the reflections back to themselves about themselves from you, they are really starting to come fully into awareness of their true self-worth, their true value to themselves. So it's very uplifting and very encouraging for them in very factual, tangible ways. Evidence of love is as love does. So whatever you're doing over here, Cancer, it seems to be working over here with the other one. Like they get it. It's again, I see here very, very strong evidence of a positive feedback loop. Like you guys really feed on each other. Not in terms of like, you know, how you have exploitative relationships where one party is trying to get what they can out of the other, and the other party's reciprocating by saying, well, I'm going to get this out of you. So it looks like a relationship, but what it is like strip mining of the soul, strip mining of the body. Like how much SCX can I get of you? How much money do you have? How many, what's the chance of us getting rich together and having the coolest life and better marriages than all our friends and everything? What can I get from you? What am I, in other words, well, what are you trying to get from me? Well, what are you trying to get from me? But it's more like, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? And it's just like, oh, okay, well, now that you've asked, how about this and this? Well, I'm glad you asked because I was going to suggest this and this anyway. And so it feeds on itself. And all of a sudden, this flows and expands and grows. And their sense of self-worth improves and increases. Your sense of self, like mastery and dignity, increases. And it's like you're literally like an inspiration to each other, literally appreciating each other for the beautiful souls that you are and maximizing this, totally like totally making the best of it, no matter how challenging all this might be. At the core, it's obvious it's a team effort, okay? They totally get you, you totally get them. You both understand that you are, each of you, a work in progress, that you are divinely guided, divinely protected. You're both worthy, deserving, and open to receive. You're both ready, willing, and able to receive. So that's Again, positive feedback. It's just happening under what I would call very stressful conditions astrologically, but it looks like you guys are riding the wave, or at least doing your best you can to make the most of it. Okay? So with the Emperor here, my feeling is a sense of caution. Like, be careful, okay? Because you've got so much good going for you, have so much harmony and balance here, and reciprocal potential good here, that it could be very easy to like gorge on this stuff and start to take it all for granted, where you end up on a power trip. You know what it's like when things go really well? You start to think, wow, it must have been me after all. I knew it. I knew it was that amazing. And you start acting like an emperor or a dictator or um, an absolute monarch who thinks they can do anything and everything. Okay, so I'm just seeing that here as a word of caution. I mean, the emperor is great in its own right. It's just, and and there's a lot of power and energy here with the emperor, and it's great that it brings like both of you into alignment with yourself, where the energy, where the relationship itself becomes sort of magnificent and all powerful, and the relationship is as important, if not more important, then I don't want to say than the individuals that are participating, but to me, it looks like you're in a situation where you guys understand that the relationship is fundamental to the experience of love and happiness in a relationship. In other words, pretend there's no cards here at all, and it's just you and them and you, and you didn't understand any of what we just talked about. It would be very easy for both parties to gorge on each other, then exploit each other and deplete each other because of all your delicious, wonderful assets. And then it would turn very sour. My feeling here is that this is an important realization that both of you guys have something really quite special, and it needs to be understood and acknowledged, and that both of you need to pay homage and deep respect to the relationship itself, truly honoring the relationship, and let's say, I'm not going to say obey the relationship, but take a lot of guidance from the relationship itself, as opposed to making it all about you or all about them. It's the both of you in the context of a loving relationship, okay? I'm not going to say anything more. I don't want to spoil it. If you need extra help, you know where to come, terralumination.com. We'll figure it out. Please watch for all the others, cross-watching Sun, Moon, and Rising and all that. You know what to do. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you, Cancer. Bye.